They used to throw salt over their shoulder to ward off evil, bury it in doorways to block spirits. Even today, monks scatter it at the gates of temples, not out of habit, but from deep ancient memory. Salt remembers. It carries the wisdom of the sea, the stillness of mountains, and the power to cleanse more than just the body. It cleanses space, thought, and intention. In this video, I will show you 5 powerful places to put salt in your home. Not for superstition, not for decoration, but to invite clarity, energy, and yes, prosperity. When we speak of attracting wealth, most people think of banknotes and coins, but the wise know, all abundance begins as energy. Money is the shadow of internal harmony. So we start by clearing. Salt absorbs the weight you can see, stress, fear, the residue of arguments, the leftovers of scarcity. Put it in the right places, and you sit, not just changing your space, you sit changing your field, and your field is what attracts everything you call luck. But this isn't magic, it's awareness, made physical. A monk doesn't sweep the temple to impress anyone, he does it to train his mind, to purify the moment, and this ritual is the same. Stay with me until the end, because the last place, the 5th, is where most people forget to look. But it may be the exact place where your energy is leaking without you knowing. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If your path is one of mastery, clarity, and peace, subscribe, and let's begin. You've been taught to chase, to strive, to force the doors of life open with effort. But a river doesn't rush. It flows where there is space. It moves when the path is clear. And so it is with abundance. In Shaolin and Buddhist teaching, wealth is not a prize, it's a response. It comes to those who are inwardly aligned, not outwardly desperate. The master doesn't beg for rain. He tills the soil, clears the weeds, waits in silence, because he understands the universe gives freely, but only to the vessel that's clean, open, and steady. This is why the placement of salt is not a superstition. It sits not some hidden code to trick the universe into giving more. It sits a physical reflection of inner readiness. Each pile of salt is a mirror, a small grounded act that says, I sits cleared the block, I sits made space, I am ready. You see, energy responds to order. When your home is chaotic, it reflects an unsettled mind. When your space is heavy, it drags your thoughts into old patterns. But when you begin placing salt, consciously, quietly, you're doing more than cleansing the air. You're showing life itself. I am no longer tangled in fear. I am no longer grasping. I am no longer cluttered with doubt. You clear the channel. You let go of what you cannot control. And slowly, what you once chased begins to appear, uninvited but welcome. This is the heart of the practice. Wealth is not found, it's received. And the one who receives does not shout or beg or push. He prepares, then waits without fear, just like a river flowing toward the sea, without effort, without force, only readiness. Every home has a mouth, a place where the world enters. In ancient teachings, the front door is not just wood and hinges, it's the threshold between realms, between the outer noise and the inner stillness. What crosses that threshold matters. In monasteries, the entrance is sacred. It is swept daily, blessed, guarded, not from fear, but from respect. Because monks understand the space you live in becomes the space you think in. Placing salt near the door isn't a trick, it's a practice. It says only what is clean may enter, only what is true may stay. Salt by the entrance acts like a silent sentinel. It pulls the weight of those who pass through arguments, stress, that invisible fog people carry when they've been too long in the world. But more than that, it trains the mind, because how you treat your doorway is how you treat your boundaries. If your home lets everything in, your soul probably does too. The front door becomes a mirror, and every time you place that small bowl of salt, you're reminding yourself, I choose what enters. I decide what energies have permission to shape me. Discipline begins at the door, not just of the home, but of the mind. You can't master your thoughts if you let every influence crash through uninvited. You can't cultivate peace if you've never learned to say no. So start simple. Place salt at the door. Let it absorb what you don't need. Let it teach you quiet strength. Let it remind you this is your space, and only what serves your path is welcome. In the old ways, the kitchen was never just a place to cook. It was the fire at the center of the home, the heart, where warmth was shared, where hands moved with care, where nourishment was prepared not just for the body, but for the soul. Ancient households knew this. In temples and villages alike, the kitchen was seen as sacred, a place where energy gathered and spread, not just through food, but through intention. What you feel while you cook, you feed. What you hold in your heart, you pass to others, whether you mean to or not. That's why salt belongs here, quietly, in corners, not to ward off spirits, but to absorb the quiet burdens we don't speak aloud. Fear, worry, the sense that there won't be enough. Time, money, love, food. These energies settle where we eat, where we give, where we receive. And if left uncleared, they multiply, slowly, silently. Salt draws them out, like pulling fog from the air. It holds the heaviness so it doesn't enter the next meal, the next moment, the next breath. And more than that, it reminds you this space is sacred. It deserves attention, cleanliness, presence. Inner mastery begins with how you tend to the places others overlook. The corners, the quiet spaces, the moments between tasks. Salt in the kitchen isn't a superstition, it's a discipline, a way to stay awake to what you're creating. Because how you nourish others reflects how you nourish yourself. And energy, like water, flows through the vessel it's given. Let that vessel be clean. Let it carry warmth. Let it carry peace. In some traditions, the far left corner of your home, when standing at the entrance, is called the wealth corner. But the deeper teaching isn't about direction. It's about energy. This is the corner where your intentions take root, where silent prayers and longings begin to shape the space around them. Salt in this corner is not for luck. It's not a charm to impress the universe. It's a statement, a steady whisper that says, I've done the work, I've cleared the noise, I'm not begging, I'm not chasing, I'm ready. This kind of readiness is quiet. It doesn't demand, it doesn't grasp. It simply opens like a field prepared for rain, not asking when it will come, only knowing that it will. In the path of self-mastery, wealth is not seen as something to pursue. It's something you align with. And that alignment only happens when your internal space matches the clarity of your outer one. The mind uncluttered, the heart grounded, the room light and clean. That's when energy moves. Salt absorbs what blocks that flow. Resentment, doubt, the tight grip of scarcity. It clears a place for trust to settle, and trust is the true magnet for abundance. This is why placement matters, why intention matters. You're not decorating a room, you're tending to your own field. The wealth corner becomes a symbol, not of greed, but of quiet readiness, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that doesn't plead, just stands open. Not everything we need can be forced into our hands. Some things come only when we've made the space. The bed is where the outer world fades, where the body lies still, but the inner world continues to move. This is where your mind surrenders its grip, and deeper currents rise, memories, fears, unspoken longings. In sleep, nothing is hidden. The surface may be quiet, but underneath the soul stirs. You don't choose your dreams. They choose you. They carry fragments of the day, echoes of the past, even whispers from something beyond. That's why the space beneath your bed matters. It's not just dust that settles there, it's residue, energy with no place to go, unfinished emotions, lingering worry, silent heaviness. Placing salt beneath your bed isn't a ritual for show. It's a form of unseen care, a way of tending to the part of you that keeps working even in rest. Salt draws out the weight you never got the chance to name. It clears what your conscious mind skipped over, and in doing so it lightens the load you carry through the night. Shaolin teachings speak often of noise, not just sound, but mental clutter, the kind that weakens attention, dulls instinct, and drains energy before the day even begins. This noise doesn't just come from what we think, it comes from what we refuse to feel. So while the body sleeps, let the salt work, quietly, patiently. Let it guard the threshold between waking and dreaming. Let it absorb the static, so you can rise with sharper focus, steadier breath, and fewer shadows. True discipline isn't just how you act in daylight. It's how you care for the unseen parts of yourself. And often, the deepest mastery begins while you sleep. There's always one place where your energy gathers: the desk where you plan, the altar where you reflect, the quiet table where you write or sit or decide what happens next. It doesn't need to be grand, but it holds weight because it holds your intention. This is your power spot, where thoughts become action, where stillness becomes clarity. It's the space where your life shifts from inner vision to outer form. Salt belongs here, not as decoration but as boundary. It marks the space as sacred. It reminds you that what happens here matters, that your decisions are energy in motion, that your words, your focus, your silence, all have weight. In ancient traditions, spaces like these were not left open to chance. Warriors and monks alike understood the need to protect the places where their minds sharpened, not out of fear, but out of respect. Because a distracted space produces a distracted mind, and a distracted mind leads nowhere. Salt placed at your power spot absorbs what doesn't belong: doubt, scattered thinking, the restless energy that creeps in through the day. It holds the field clear so that when you sit, you can truly be present, not rushed, not foggy, just rooted in the moment. Discipline isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like keeping one space clean, one corner sacred, one table free from noise. That small act becomes a mirror for the larger ones, because the way you hold your space reflects how you hold your mind. And when the space is clear, alignment becomes natural, not forced, not chased. You're not just working, you're tuning your actions to match your path, quietly, precisely, with no wasted motion. In the monastery, even sweeping the floor is a form of meditation. The monk doesn't rush. He doesn't treat it as a chore to finish. Each stroke of the broom is deliberate, not to make the ground spotless, but to train his attention to be fully where his body is. The same is true when placing salt. This isn't something you throw down while thinking of other things. It's not a shortcut to abundance or a trick to fix your life overnight. It's a practice, a way to pause, to feel, to remember that your actions carry energy. When you take salt in your hand and place it with care, something changes. You shift from distraction to presence, from habit to awareness. Each pinch becomes a quiet offering, a moment where your body, breath, and intention all line up. This is where the power lives, not in the salt itself, but in your state of mind as you place it. If your energy is frantic, fearful, or doubting, then the salt only mirrors that. But if you move with reverence, with calm, with full attention, then the space begins to respond. In ancient teachings, the external world is never separate from the internal one. They reflect each other, echo each other. So when you place salt, slowly, consciously, you're not just clearing your home, you're reshaping your state of being. This is the discipline. Doing small things with full presence, not chasing results, not craving outcomes, just being where you are, honoring what you touch, honoring the moment. Even a grain of salt can become a doorway if you're awake enough to see it. Wealth doesn't rush, it doesn't panic. It moves like water toward calm, open spaces, toward those who are steady enough to hold it without trembling. In ancient thought, wealth was never just about gold or grain. It was seen as a current, a vibration, a frequency that either harmonizes with you or moves around you. When the mind is anxious, energy scatters. When the heart is grasping, the field tightens. And when you're caught in urgency, there's no room to receive. That's why chasing wealth rarely works. You may gain for a moment, but it slips through your fingers because the vessel was not ready. Stillness changes that. Cleanliness of thought, of space, of spirit invites wealth the way a quiet lake invites reflection. There's no force, no begging, only alignment. In the teachings of the masters, prosperity isn't earned through pressure, it arrives through inner order. when your life is simple, your movements intentional, your boundaries clear, wealth, whatever form it takes, begins to flow toward you, not because you demanded it, but because you became a space it could trust. This is the hidden training: to stop gripping, to stop proving, and instead to become grounded, to breathe deeply, to act without rush. Salt, placed with awareness, helps train that. It clears what clings. It absorbs what agitates. It holds space for stillness that most people forget they have access to. And in that stillness, you realize money is never the goal. Peace is, clarity is. When those arrive, money often follows, not as a reward, but as a reflection. Salt listens. It holds what you can't. Fear, tension, heaviness, it absorbs them without judgment. But even salt has its limits. Over time, it becomes full, saturated, heavy with what it has taken in. That's why it must be replaced. Not as a routine, but as a ritual. A small ceremony of letting go. You can wash it down the drain with intention, or return it to the earth, letting the ground take back what no longer belongs in your space. Either way, you're not just throwing something away, you're practicing release. This is one of the oldest lessons in spiritual training. Nothing stays, not pain, not confusion, not lack. Everything changes, everything moves. And what once blocked you may already be dissolving if you're willing to let it. The discipline lies in remembering this, in not clinging, in not letting even your tools become idols. The salt served its purpose. Now it returns to the cycle. In ancient monastic life, even the robes of the monks were replaced when worn, not out of vanity, but humility, to accept that nothing is permanent. Not even the energies that feel stuck inside you. They too can be cleared. They too can leave. So when you replace the salt, do it slowly, with gratitude. Not because you're trying to fix something, but because you're honoring what's already shifting. You're trusting the process of movement, of cleansing, of renewal. Even your burdens are impermanent. Even the energy of lack has an expiration date. Salt just reminds you of that. Quietly, consistently, like all good teachers do. What you've just learned isn't about superstition. It's about presence, attention, the quiet power of small, deliberate acts. Salt is only a tool, but how you use it shapes how you live. With each placement, you're not just cleansing space. You're refining awareness. You're shifting from clutter to clarity, from force to flow. Wealth, true wealth, doesn't rush toward noise. It moves toward stillness, toward those who are steady enough to receive without gripping and wise enough to let go when the time comes. So begin with one corner, one pinch, one breath. Make it a practice. Let it be a reminder that energy is always moving and you have the power to guide it through discipline, intention, and care. If this teaching spoke to something deep in you, honor that. Carry it into your daily life. Not loudly, but quietly, like monks do, like nature does. And if you walk this path of inner mastery and sacred simplicity, stay close to us. Subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire. Like this video if it brought you peace, and keep walking calmly, consciously toward what's already waiting for you.